As Ramadan begins, Muslims around the world prepare to fast from dawn to dusk. But for many Muslims, this time of spiritual reflection is scarred by the rising tide of Islamophobia. Hadi Azad explains.
First time I ever experienced Islamophobia was seeing my dad single-handedly experience it, and he was a cab driver.
Faris Sawan says his dad was attacked because he was wearing traditional clothing.
I think back at it and it just made it feel like, it just makes me feel sad because, you know, there was that whole time in my life where I wouldn't want to wear something like that because I don't want people to come up to me or say something like that.
25-year-old Dawood Yunus says he was in his early teens when he first experienced Islamophobia here.
In my grade 8 year, when Osama bin Laden was killed. Now, obviously, you know, everybody was very happy that somebody that had committed heinous crimes was no longer with us. But the language that other students around me were using was not just to celebrate, you know, a criminal being brought to justice. It was more so of, you know, those people versus us people.
Muslims we spoke to at the Mountain Mosque tell us they've experienced Islamophobia at a young age and say it's getting worse.
When I was growing up, people would make comments, things like that, but nobody would try to start an altercation because of that. But here we are years later, and like where I live in Ancaster, down the street, we had, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, someone in the parking lot of a Shoppers Drug Mart attacked a woman in the community and her daughter because she was wearing a hijab.
Emil Joseph with McMaster University says Hamilton was one of the worst cities in the country when it comes to hate crimes. According to Stats Canada, hate-motivated crimes targeting religion jumped 67% in 2021, with Jewish and Muslim populations being the most commonly targeted for religious-based hate crimes.
We know that Hamilton is on the top of the list. It's usually number 1 or up to 3 in terms of police-reported hate crimes per capita in the country. In there are identified forms of hate that take the form of racism in particular, but also attacks on faith groups. In there is Islamophobia.
Dawood Yunus says if people just took the time to learn about Muslims, there would be fewer problems.
People start to realize that we're not so different, right? We're not this mythical, weird thing from across the sea. We're people that have families, we're people that like barbecues, we're people that like going to the beach, just like everybody else. And I think that when we start to understand that, I think people will come together more than go apart.
Ramadan, a time of prayer, fasting, and reflection, is a special time of year for Muslims around the world. Starting tomorrow morning, Muslims will begin to fast.
It's my favorite time of the year, like I'll be completely honest with you. It's a time where you have like this whole month where you just get to spend time with family, and not just family, community as well. So you get to see like the bond is the strongest. Like it's the strongest time ever during Ramadan.
Every year we look forward to Ramadan. It's just like, it feels very festive. You know, people come together, you see people that you haven't seen in a while, and you're really, really hungry throughout the day. But then, you know, you get home and the food is ready.
For Muslims, Ramadan is a time for family to get together, celebrate, and give to charity. Hadi Azad, CHCH News, Hamilton.